Welcome to the last day of our travel showcase. I hope you've all been able to join us all week as we have explored just some of the destinations that we will be visiting in 2023. I'm Kelly Morganti, Assistant Director of the Alumni Travel Program, and this whole week has been dedicated to the kickoff of our 2023 tour collection. The Penn State Alumni Association has been offering group travel for over 50 years. Each year, we've put together what we hope is a varied list of destinations and types of trips for you all to enjoy. Our collection offers all types of travel: train, river cruises, ocean vessels, and more. During today's presentation, based on the features made available in your audience console, you can view slides, hear presenters via the main stage, chat with other attendees, find additional resources, links, and more. To access closed captioning, please click the CC button located at the bottom of the main stage. Following the event, you can email any questions to alumnitravel@psu.edu. Today, I am joined by Gohagan & Company representative, Tom Bingle, Executive Vice President. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Kelly, very much. And I'm honored to be here. This is exciting.
So we're going to ask you to come on camera with us, and we're going to talk about some of the great destinations that we're going to be offering with Gohagan. Penn State and Gohagan have been partnering for more than 30 years. So tell us a little bit about the company and its history with small ship luxury travel.
Well, thank you, Kelly, and thank you to the greater Nittany Lion audience. This is exciting. Gohagan & Company was started way back in 1984. Based out of Chicago by a gentleman by the name of Thomas P. Gohagan. And right away, we've always been associated with the alumni market. That's been we haven't ventured out beyond that. And that has been, kind of our backbone, is doing trips for the university alumni, primarily focusing on the affinity and the engagement, of the programs. And some of the items in which Gohagan & Company are really known for, and which helps, the end goal is to increase engagement while on a program, because sometimes not everybody comes back to State College for, a sporting event or somehow to come back. Well, here's another way to touch the alumni base. So we're small group educational travel. And that's a very unique distinction. We're not going to be putting you on a larger ship. We mainly do ships size under about 160 passengers, or about the sizes of our vessels. So they're small. These are really small, intimate vessels. And again, what's also nice about our programming, as you see here, we charter the ship, which means that we take out that ship from the inventory of the ship company, and we have it full control. But the other item that's very important is that it's alumni that are on it. We do some museums around the United States and Canada, but other than that, that's our primary base. And so it's a kind of a special like-minded travelers as we're going through this wonderful experience, as you will see in the trips that we offer. Dynamic itineraries. You can't get these itineraries through the cruise line or whatever. We create our own because we want to make it have the best ingredients, the best flow, and try to see as much as we can in the amount of time that we're using the ship. And that's a very important point, because some destinations in the world, you can't get to other than by ship. Right. And then a final thing that we also really stress and have for, since 1984 are our lecturers. We really enjoy having professors from all the universities, and sometimes we put on some special guest speakers, as you will see later with the Red Sea. But in any event, it's focused solely on the alumni, and then focus, as I said, chartering of these small vessels. And you will see the programs we have, they're all small ships, deluxe, all inclusive, in the sense that, once you start on these ships, basically all your meals are going to be included, all beverages, Wi-Fi, whatever is. So we try to do a complete package with you on that particular item. And so one final thing I may say, Kelly, which is interesting, is that Gohagan & Company was sold right in July of 2021. and we have new ownership now and investing a lot of money and for systems and various things. And so we're getting up to snuff as we move then into 2022 and 2023. So kind of a look at Gohagan, primarily small ships worldwide, all 7 continents, but alumni, small museums only, with that.
The small ship, a small luxury ship in particular, experience that Gohagan offers is so attractive to our travelers. We get rave reviews on all the ships. I know you use a lot of Penn line ships. They get rave reviews. They're very happy. And again, it's that small ship. They don't want to be on a 3,000 passenger ship. So these 160 to 180 passenger ships are the perfect size for our groups. Let's go ahead and start right off with the Circumnavigation of Iceland trip.
Kelly, this is magic here. The history of travel to Iceland has been land programming coming in. As you can see, Reykjavik, the capital, is way over here on the western side, and they would venture out a little bit. They would maybe go up to about half of the country. But what is phenomenal about this program is the fact that you circumnavigate. That's a great term. You feel like you're following in the footsteps of Christopher Columbus or some of Magellan, some of the great explorers. So you actually circle the whole of Iceland, and you can't do that by land. If you were to rent a car and try to go to all the nooks and crannies that we do all the way around the island, maybe 3 months I might give you to do that. So we do it in a wonderful program of 7 nights that we do basically Reykjavik round trip. But what's neat, as I said, and as I was analyzing our other programs, is that something new, something different, something new. And what is different about this is as you go through, or just kind of walk through, we have, Reykjavik, then we go up north out here where the Arctic terns are in Ísafjörður, a beautiful nature walk that we have. That was the height of some of the fishing and herring industry, Siglufjörður, the next stop, which is just outstanding. And that's where we visit the Yellowstone of this land of fire and ice. That's what's so amazing about Iceland. You have volcanoes that are covered by glaciers. And so it's a real mixture. The plates are shifting and moving. And so things are happening all the time. And that's where the Yellowstone is. And then this is new. After that, we go up to the Arctic Circle, from Husavik up to see our very friendly friends, the Puffins, as they're up on the Grimsey Island. But no one goes over here to the east. Seyðisfjörður, which is just a beautiful small community, very distinguishing on the eastern Iceland. Then we go down to Djúpavogur, and there we go to kind of the jewel in the crown. The largest glacier in Europe is right there, the Vatnajökull National Park, the famous Jokulsarlon, the glacier that is there. And you cannot get there only by ship. We come around then to down into the south of the very famous island of Heimaey, and also we pass Surtsey, which is an island that came out of the North Atlantic Ocean in 1973. So that's how active these things are. And then we end up back in Reykjavik, for that.
And the fact that you're doing this on a luxury vessel, the ship itself is beautiful.
Yes, this is a part of what it's a French line called Ponant, P-O-N-A-N-T. And what it is that they came up with an Explorer series style of ship. And roughly, we take about, if every bed's occupied, about 160 passengers on that ship, Les Bellots. They're named after famous French explorers. You see, everyone has a balcony. Everyone has a balcony, which is a delightful thing, for cruising, but very comfortable. It's a very elegant, sophisticated French style. It's an elegant European French style, which is I always like, because then that adds to the idea that you're not necessarily in North America. You're more in that area of which you are traveling, but very comfortable. And we charter this ship, so that's in full control, of the vessel, which means that these ships do not have big casinos. They don't have a big nighttime entertainment or anything of that nature. And but however, again, it's very elegantly done. They have a beautiful theater for presentations. We have wonderful cuisine on board. And so it's a delightful, intimate experience, again, just with alumni or just with, some people from a museum or two on that. So that's your home for 7 nights as you do this Reykjavik round trip. All right.
And we'll start in Reykjavik and you said start and end in Reykjavik on this one, right?
Majestic. We do a pre-tour for 3 nights in Reykjavik, which goes out to a very famous area called the Golden Ring, where you see where the first parliament was ever held in 900 AD in Thingvellir National Park. But Reykjavik is a delightful, it's not a big bustling European capital city, very delightful, but yet also kind of the kickoff. And our ship just leaves right from that port there as we head out of Reykjavik, and doing that. The one other thing I do want to highlight, this is another interesting thing, Kelly, is that this price starts at $59.95, but it includes air from the East Coast. That's from JFK, Boston, Newark, Dulles, Washington Dulles, and even up in Toronto. That's all included in that price for the trip. Our lead-in starts at $59.95.
And then they also transfer you from the airport to the ship.
Correct. Because the wonderful little airport Keflavik, which was a former U.S. base during World War II, is that that is actually about 45 to 50 minutes outside of the town of Reykjavik, and so it's a delightful. We provide these transfers coming into the heart of Reykjavik. You get even if you don't do the pre-tour, you do get a little time in Reykjavik, and it's a delightful, smaller pedestrian zone, European style downtown. Then, after that, our first stop then is up in Húsavík, right around the Ísafjörður area where we do this walk. That's the other thing that I enjoy about this is that there's a good, not overly, and it's not like you're climbing mountains, but you do have a good opportunity for some good walking on these things because nature dominates, this land of Iceland. Húsavík, from there we go, interested to see a little bit of the fishing world, but then also that we push on this Godafoss Falls Day. That's the Yellowstone Day. We all know Yellowstone Falls is magnificent. But near Godafoss, then we have hot spots, we have geysers, we have fumaroles. And so it's really a lot on the nature, just playing every time you turn around in Iceland. So Lake Mývatn is there. And again, think of Yellowstone, where you have obviously a beautiful lake, but then you have the hot spots just right next door as you're kind of got to weave your way around some of these fumaroles that are coming up out of the water. The next stop is always a favorite. This is what I love. These are great moments in travel when you do see these colonies, of migratory birds that make their way, and the puffins are there in summer. And this is neat. We go above the Arctic Circle, which is kind of unusual. You're getting way up further up north. Yep. Getting closer to the North Pole in that region. But then this is a great island because there's a couple phenomenal nature walks whereby we can get close to seeing the puffin colonies. And then the other major bird are the Arctic terns that then migratory here. So this is a delightful stop. And then we push on more. And then that's where we come over, as I said, to this eastern island. And people don't go there. And this is magic because then we come off and sure enough, we get in a boat, in the lagoon, in the glacier lagoon, and we go right to the face of the glacier. And so that's and again, this is the largest glacier, in Western Europe. Now, remember, Iceland just had volcanic eruptions, and it's no more than about, I think 20 miles away from where the largest glacier is in Iceland. So that's how dynamic of plate tectonics and just the movement of geology that's going on then in Iceland. So it's, and again, in order to get here, to go to do that, it would be a drive of, at least 2 to 3 days in order to get to Jokulsarlon Glacier. So it's a delightful run. And then we come down further to this beautiful, fascinating island of Heimaey. These are way down now in the southeastern part of Iceland as we start to make our turn back north to Reykjavik. Exciting, Heimaey, 1950s. Are you ready for this? Earthquake comes on right on it, and the lava flows were huge coming down from the mountain into this town. So much so, however, this is kind of an interesting story. The good guys are the United States Navy, And the United States Navy moved their ships forward, pumped a lot of water, onto the island, just by hoses, as well as also probably, just shooting water to help stop the lava flows. And so what you have there, and you go to Heimaey, you have a house in the back of it, in the back parlor, it's all full of lava. And then it stopped. And so the front parlor then is just like a normal house back in 1950s in Iceland. So it's quite exciting. And then right outside of Heimaey, it's not these right here, we have a new island, Surtsey, that again came up in 1973. These are islands that just, I shouldn't say popped out of the water, but again, the plate tectonics being very active, that there is and we can't stop it. We can't go on Surtsey, but we do circle around it before ending up then back in Reykjavik, with the program. So let's see.
Yeah, Iceland is always so incredibly popular, and just it's like you said, the geology behind it is fascinating, and it's still happening each day. So, but let's go ahead and move into the Mediterranean. Tell us a little bit about the next trip we'll be offering in 2023, which is the Coastal Life Along the Adriatic and Aegean Seas program.
Now, this I love. We've been doing this program ever since 1985. And there's been an evolution, as we know. Unfortunately, I believe in the 90s, the terrible Balkan War, kind of at the breakup of Yugoslavia, and all the different nations, Croatia, Serbia, Montenegro, Bosnia, Herzegovina, all these nations kind of battling. And so fortunately now all that has settled, and that has enabled us then to come back. And what, are you ready for this? That just like going to Eastern Iceland, no one goes to Jokulsarlon other than by us with a boat. You ready? We're going to introduce two new countries to you that I don't think people would ever have been there: Montenegro and Albania. So here, what I love about it, there's great diversity. All right. Can I ask for two better cities to begin and leave? Venice is the beginning. We do a pre-tour in Venice, and then at the end, you're in Athens. So these two great centers of civilization and culture, kind of are the bookends, so to speak, on the program. Beautiful date, great date. That's the same thing, but I want to say in Iceland, magnificent date, right in the height of summer. This is perfect. All right, crowds are starting to diminish a little bit, not as busy at that time. Again, 7-night cruise. I love this. Venice, but then we stop. We do these stepping stones along the very famous Dalmatian coast of Croatia. We go to Split, unbelievable, and we dock right in the heart of Split, which is wonderful. And we don't leave. The distances are so short that we leave like at midnight, which means both in Split, Dubrovnik, is that you're able to enjoy, in Korčula, able to enjoy these little communities at nighttime. And that's when, during this time of the year, it's very much alive. Split is phenomenal. And later on, not yet, I don't want to go. I want to keep the map. But Diocletian's palace, a former emperor of Rome, retired there. But the whole downtown is kind of based within this palace complex that he had built. All right, then on to the two islands, Hvar, Korčula. Korčula is where Marco Polo was born, but delightful. In Korčula, we're there in the evening, wonderful for strolling. And again, these are islands. Then to the jewel in the crown, Dubrovnik, which has always been, and I believe it hasn't lost its magic. Kind of a walled city, was bombed during the Balkan War, but then somewhat reconstructed, and just a beautiful introduction then also to that Dalmatian coast. But then here's where the fun begins. We go into Kotar, the Bay of Kotar. Think of a Norwegian fjord, almost matches the beauty of it, narrow at the top. And then here's a medieval town of Kotar at the end. So a new country for nearly everybody that's on the ship. Albania, heretofore been kind of the backwater of the communist world, now opening up the door, and we go to a coastal town of Saran, but then we push on to a beautiful place called Butrut. 5 civilizations were there at this site, because you can see how this was a crossroads of both north-south, east-west. And so it's a wonderful site where and almost in one eye view, I'll see Greco-Roman, but I'll see Byzantine, and I'll see medieval. So a whole plethora of different civilizations there. On to Corfu in Greece, and then we can, from that, not rarely visit, even though it's well known, has been well known to the British traveler. But Corfu It's a beautiful island stop and kind of our introduction to Greece. We come in through the strait there and we go to Aegean for Delphi, one of the most magnificent Greco-Roman, Greek site where the Oracle was. So if we want to know if Penn State will win the national championship in 2023, we go and listen to the Oracle. And then this one doesn't end. The Corinth Canal, they're doing some reconstruction, had some little bit, but we've been told it will be open. We go through the Corinth, and it's a wonderful thing, that Corinth Canal, built back in 1860. It's almost like you can reach out and touch the sides, and it looks like your 6-year-old son, just made it out of kind of using a shovel. It's not fancy in any way by like the Panama Canal or the Suez Canal that we'll talk about a little bit later. And then we end in Piraeus, and then we do a post tour in Athens, September 18th. And that price is starting at, I believe, $49.95 is all that. And again, everything's included. Once you walk on the ship, all meals, beverages, everything that you would love to have is all included on that. So,
now that price doesn't include air, but you guys can
correct.
arrange air for any of our travelers.
Yes,
and it's like
yeah.
you said, the smallness of that canal and being able to go right into the cities, again, that lends itself to the fact that you are on a small ship for this one.
So here, it looks just like a Les Bellots. It is now Jacques Cartier, someone that we do know on it. And here's part of the observation lounge that is, makes up the interior then of Jacques Cartier. Same thing. Every room has a balcony. They're about 200 square feet, in size, very comfortable. And again, this French feel to it. There's a hospital. Doctors and nurses are on board. There's isolation units, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But beautifully just designed. And it's not one of these, I love it. It's a one corridor ship. Just remember that phrasing, because if you're on some of these big ships, it's 2 corridors and you feel like, you're just a dime a dozen. Here, you mingle, and it's a very collegial atmosphere on board. Matter of fact, this is kind of interesting. I may say, here we have Cal Berkeley, Dartmouth, University of Michigan, National Trust, Harvard University, is on this program. That's part of the type of travelers, like-minded travelers that you will be sharing with, and they bring a professor, and so there's a series of lectures going on all the time during this 7-night cruise here to help highlight the other elements of this area. Okay, and then as we push on,
I was just saying, because of that small ship size, you're one of the only ones that can actually do Venice right now.
Yes, and very interesting that this ship is small enough that it can sail up into, as you see here, I think the Santa Maria de Salute, and then right over here, then we have the wonderful San Marco Plaza. So anyhow, but Venice is magic. We do a pre-tour there, stand right in the heart of the old city, and so people then can take advantage of that magnificent special place. Venice in my heart is so, because there's no roads. I mean, I'll never forget the first time all of us being in, normally coming out of the train station, and you look for a taxi. No, it's a water taxi. It's magic, special charm. So we begin in Venice, and then the next one, here's Diocletian's Palace, and it's magnificent. This is an old, the whole old town is part of this palace, and it's just delightful for restaurants, cafes, but just getting an introduction now to Croatia and to Dalmatia. The ship docks right here, so you're able to, enjoy Split, until the wee hours of the morning. All right, then we push on to some of the islands. Hvar, delightful. These are just right off the coast there. You can kind of get a feel for why the Dalmatian coast is one of the most heavily visited coasts. Of these little nooks and crannies that are there in that area. The Adriatic is a very friendly sea for cruising, as you can see, for sailboats and for people just to kind of venture off. It's not a rough sea, the Adriatic. And then from Hvar, we push on to Corfu. Steals my heart there. Again, the ship is able to dock very close in here, and Marco Polo's home is just right over amongst those red tile roofs there. So it's a magical, what a day, Korčula and Hvar. And again, we linger in Korčula because Dubrovnik is not that far away, which is delightful for the evening cafe. And here's the jewel in the crown, Dubrovnik. You'll never forget Dubrovnik. However, today, this is a very interesting how we approach this. Are you ready? The ship anchors right by the famous St. George Tower there. And so we anchor. And that enables us then to get into Dubrovnik, right at 8 o'clock. And we have Dubrovnik to ourselves from about 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the morning because it is such a popular city. But the big boats are 4 kilometers down the road and they start to unload. But we do have Dubrovnik to ourselves. And the other item also is that we linger. Again, Kotar's not that far. We leave at midnight. So that then after everybody leaves, which is a real, what's the right word? A good little trait as far as European travel. You want to be in these jewels after 5 because it's not deserted. I can tell you that Dubrovnik is never deserted, but it's not as busy as it would. But it's a wonderful pedestrian only town that you can kind of walk and stroll. Magic, really delightful. So you've got split of our Korčula Dubrovnik to begin with. Then they get this quiet one. This is a real surprise. Kotar, the town is just like Dubrovnik, all pedestrian, medieval, but not as much hype, as Dubrovnik, but that fjord is just spectacular. And we cruise all the way up that fjord for the look and then dock out. So that's a new, a country struggling, to kind of come out of this Balkan War. And yet again, Kotar is a wonderful representation for the country of Montenegro. And then pushing on to the one that's most unusual, and that's Saran for Butryn. And there, then this is the Greek theater that was there. But then, it's amazing. There's a Roman temple right next door, a Christian church. There's a medieval, monastery, Byzantine. It's all right on this one site. And I was very, how would I call it? Surprised by the treasures that were there in this town, in Butryn, in Albania. So that's that other new energy of going to Albania, which is, as I said, something that is not normal for people to go to. Okay.
It's a real crossroads.
Yes. And then down to Corfu, a little more, however, again, Corfu has been off the main line of tourism. It seems that people come down in the Peloponnese or they're going to go into, more Mykonos, Santorini area. But it's a real jewel in that sense, a developed, very developed city. But again, what I love about these European cities, pedestrian zones. And so they're large. So it just enables you to kind of wander without the threat of whatever, large, cars and just everything. And it just is very conducive to constructive tourism, in that regard. So Corfu is magic, with that beautiful fort, but it's our introduction. All right. Then we push on further. All right. And then we get to the Corner Canal. We do go to Delphi. We go to Delphi again to hear that oracle, to see if there's anything coming out. Kelly, they always need someone to translate what the oracle is saying. So maybe, about the Penn State, we'll see what, Kelly, you can give an interpretation. Positive. All right.
I don't know that I'm the person to do that because we always win, right?
Yes. But this is so magic. You end the trip. This is your last day, your last afternoon after Delphi, heading to Athens, and you go through the Corner of the Canal. And it's a total surprise. Again, unheard of. You never probably have heard about it, but it does, provide the ships not to go all the way around the Peloponnese, but then they cut through it, and it's just magic. And as you can kind of see, you can almost put your hands out and touch the side, and it looks like it may fall down at any time, but it's really unusual. So, and then I don't know if I have Athens as the last. Yeah, then of course, and this is where the post tour is. We get in and disembark, and then there is the Parthenon. It's beautiful. You can kind of see it at any place, kind of when you're in the heart of that wonderful old city of Athens. And then we have 2 nights at a beautiful hotel called the Grand Breton Hotel. And I'll never forget, you go up to the lounge up top and boom, magnificent view of the Acropolis from there. So just a delightful city.
This trip also offers a pre-tour in Venice, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, highly recommend both of those, the pre and the post tour. And there's just so many, incredible stops on this particular itinerary. that with some of the new restrictions on ship sizes and getting into Venice in particular, but Couture and some of those, this small ship size really warrants itself to be used in these areas. So let's go ahead and move a little bit south and talk about the Antiquities of the Red and Aegean Seas. And this is a new program for us.
Yes, and it's a new one. We started prior to, like in 2019, we were able to do one, and magic. And again, here's the magic. All right, you have Egypt. Egypt remains, even there was that little spell of the Arab Spring, but Egypt remains on everybody's bucket list. And I have to admit, when you're on that Giza plateau, oh my gosh, looking at the Sphinx and the pyramids of Cheops behind, these are great moments in tourism history, is when you're there at the pyramids. It's phenomenal. However, all right, so traditionally, our competition here is just that Egyptian Nile River run that just does Giza and then does down to Luxor. Delightful, magic. However, this trip offers so much more. And I think that's what's been the appeal of this. For 2022, I just want to highlight, this trip sold out in 1 month. And so that's in 2022, so we're kind of still uncertainty and a little checking. However, you ready? And this is why. Begin in Athens. Again, small ship, the Bougainville, just again, about 160 passengers if every bed's taken. But here's the key. We offer, what we offer beyond Egypt are just really good things. And we actually improve the visit to Egypt. Begin in Athens. All right. We do a pre-tour in Athens, again, at the Grand Breton Hotel, overlooking the Acropolis. We have a 2-night, pre-tour. And now then this is a walk through civilization. The oldest civilization in Europe, quote unquote, with Greece being part of Europe now, is the Minoan civilization on Crete. All right, and that we go and visit the famous Palace of Knossos there, just a magic place. But then you start to see early European culture, because of the Minoan culture then pushed on going to, into mainland Greece, and then moving up from there, obviously, to Rome and consequently. All right, so that's it. Then we have a day at sea. Then here's a port that we go to that normally on your it's a pre-tour something on your Egypt, your Nile River, Alexandria. Alexandria is very different than Cairo, than different in southern Egypt, because it's much more Mediterranean. There's a different lightness, I would say, to Alexandria as opposed to the, as we move further south or up the Nile River. Alexandria, wonderful. So we have a half day there, but that enables us to really get into obviously the beautiful fort that you will see here, but then a wonderful library that they built, and they've developed the Corniche, the area along the Mediterranean. So Alexandria has a very different feel, obviously named after Alexander the Great. So this is dating back to the 300 BC. So quite a nice little jewel. All right, now here's the second jewel, second surprise, and this has been from the surveys that we received, probably the biggest surprise that people enjoyed on this program. Are you ready? We leave Alexandria, we go to Port Said, and we position to go through and transit the Suez Canal. This is something totally different. As a matter of fact, in my 30 years of business, I never even dreamt that, we'd be going through the Suez Canal, but we do it. People love it. We have a wonderful, because in Alexandria, we pick up a wonderful guide, not a guide. He's a, how do you call it? The gentleman was in charge of the Egyptian Museum. Tariq Dr. Tariq he comes on in Alexandria, stays with us, gives phenomenal commentary about the Suez Canal and the building of it, and kind of all the politics that have been involved with it. But as we go through, and then this Dr. Tariq, as I said, he was in charge of the Egyptian Museum. That's how there's a couple. How an famous Egyptian Egyptologist, and he's one of the three. But in any event, Dr. Tariq, and then we go to Ain Soukna, right? Now we're on the ship. Now and then we have a full day where then we drive in from Ain Soukna to Giza, and now that's where then obviously the famous Sphinx, the pyramids, that whole area of the Giza plateau. we've been saying this now, tour people have been saying this for 10 years, because what the Egyptians are doing, they're moving the famous Egyptian Museum, which is down in downtown Cairo, out to Giza. Okay, and it's been promised, seriously, since like 2015, it was supposed to be out there every year, up. So I can't say that by November 7th, 2023, it will be there. But the idea is, fingers crossed that the possibility exists that then not only will you have the pyramids, which we can go down in, again, great moments where you got to duck down and you walk down the chamber, then you come into the height right in the middle of the pyramid, and there you see the sarcophagi of Cheops or whatever. And so it's just a magic moment in tourism there, as well as the Sphinx. The Sphinx, the quiet majesty. But then we would then go to the Egyptian Museum. So we'll have it should be there. And again, Dr. Tariq was in charge of the Egyptian Museum, so he's well known with all the antiquities that are there in that area. So boom, we have Crete, we've had Alexander, Suez Canal, now the pyramid. All right, then we cruise on down. We come back to the ship. All right, so we do not overnight in Cairo. We come back to the ship, cruise down the Red Sea now to a town called Hurghada. All right, there we ask the people to pack an overnight bag, because then we go in from Hurghada through the desert. It's magic, through the desert to the wonderful town of Luxor. And there we spend an overnight at the Steigenberger Hotel, right in the heart of Luxor. And there on that side of the Nile, we visit the temple of Karnak. I can always remember this American inner Johnny Carson that would get dressed up like Karnak and try to read the cards, so to speak.
You're dating us, Tom. You're dating us.
The temple of Karnak, and then the temple of Luxor, the famous Hippostyle hall, and it's just magnificent there. So that's a wonderful day. Then we overnight, then we cross the Nile, all right, by a little, ferry boat magic. So you do get a little Nile River feel. And then we go to the Valley of the Kings and Queens. And that's where then we go into two tombs, one being Nefertari, which is a very special admission into sea, but the hieroglyphics are just magnificent. Again, kind of bending down, descending down into the earth, into this hidden tomb. And sure enough, just magnificent once you get near the sarcophagi, and just the detail of the hieroglyphics and the journey that Nefertiti was embarking on. We see the Menon, the Colossus of Menon. We go to Queen Hatshepsut. We see that other temple there. So it's a wonderful day on that. Then go back to the ship. So we do have that overnight. So there's one night that you are actually off the ship. There's enough in Luxor with the temples as well as the Valley of the Kings and Queens to really, and just the atmosphere of being on the Nile. Then from Hurghada, then we come down, then we come across, we go to the very famous town of Aqaba. And Aqaba then is in Jordan, and we disembark. So from Athens to Aqaba, 8 nights on the ship, 8 nights on the ship. Now we come to the land portion. And then the very first place that we go to, another place that everyone, Kelly will know, Lawrence of Arabia, a very famous film starring Peter O'Toole many decades ago, but it was filmed in Wadi Rum, and it follows the life of Lawrence, and which his main point was to unite the divergent Arab tribes in that region to combat and overthrow the Ottoman Turks. Matter of fact, from the movie, there's a very famous scene of a train derailment, and actually you see those train rails as we're right in Wadi Rum. All right, so we go to Wadi Rum. Then we end up at the jewel in the crown of Jordan and of the world of antiquities, Petra. And so it's just below the pyramids and the Sphinx, but it's it's the famous treasury of the Nabatean culture, and I love it. You got to wind your way back in, beautiful walk through these colored stones, smoothed by water, and eventually then you get to the Nabatean treasury of Petra, and it again takes your breath away, very beautiful. So that's a wonderful, and we stay right there in the heart of Petra, for one night. So we've had 8 night ships, 1 night in Petra. Then we push on up, and we push up then to Amman. And there we have 3 nights in Amman in Jordan. Very, what I want to call it, cosmopolitan, very open Jordan is very progressive, kind of like Morocco, in the sense that these benevolent kings over the years have really provided somewhat of a positive ground, and again, Western educated and very much links to the United States on many different levels. But Amman provides that. We see the old city, and then we have a full day up to Jerash, which is actually probably, I would say, that the best Roman city intact. That from streets to houses to theaters to everything there. And so and then we end up with the 3 nights then in Amman, and we do a post tour. Then we cross over the Alumni Bridge, then into Jerusalem, and we have a 4-night post tour program based out of Jerusalem, featuring Masada, featuring obviously that wonderful town, the city of Jerusalem, with all the different sectors and just all the history and dynamism that is modern day Israel, but also then all the history of its past.
And this all starts on, it's like you said, it is a combined trip. It's sort of a hybrid. So we start out on another small ship. And it isn't a sister ship to some of the other ones we had talked about, but it's still just as small. And it has a very European feel, like you said.
Yes, it's magic. Bougainville. Oh yeah, my fault. Bougainville. Again, another explorer from the French line. And here you see the dining room. Again, very intimate. Everybody can be seated at once. It isn't, we got to have, you're at, 6 o'clock, then you're at 8:30. No. And there you see the theater. That's where Dr. Tariq and other lecturers then will be doing the presentation. And all these ships have a very famous item called the Blue Eye. And the Blue Eye, what it is, the owners of Penn, one of them, the man who started Penn, had a fascination with Jules Verne as a youngster. And he would love the story about 20,000 leagues under sea. In other words, kind of life, kind of perpetually underwater. And so what he has, designed here is actually there's 2 very, very large windows, but where you can witness the movement of activity and of the water down, I'd say at the bottom of the ship, but it's a wonderful little view, kind of becoming one with nature, in that regard. So that Red Sea, Kelly, it's just amazing because, you have Crete, Alexandria, Suez Canal.
Well, I was going to say, you start with that pre-trip though in Athens.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, in other words, what I'm trying to get at is why I think it is so appealing is that it offers the whole region, and you can do a post tour to Israel, so you really can and you get Petra, and it just is really quite a collection of civilizations, all mixed into one. So it's one. Now that is at $7,995. Is deleted. So here's Crete. That's the very famous Palace of Knossos, the remnants of it. The British did a great job though of reconstructing, some of it. You can see the beautiful frescoes that were all throughout that civilization. This is the Minoan civilization. All right. And then the next one and then here's Alexandria prior to transiting the Suez Canal, the famous fort here. And we also go to a beautiful new library and have time along the Corniche there in Alexandria. And then pushing on down to, there we are. And again, great moments. You can go right into the heart of that, the Pyramid of Cheops. That's the main one there, and kind of watch your head as you go down, but it's a great moment. And
now that side trip over to Giza, that's included in the price?
That's included. Yeah, that's all included. Yeah, that's all included. That's part of the 8-night program. Yeah.
Right.
And then you just a little glimpse of the Nile around Luxor. We cross over the Nile twice actually, but the Valley of the Kings and Queens are up against those hills, and then the town of Luxor then's on to the left here on that side. And then let's see where else. The Temple of Karnak, as you see these beautiful hall, the carvings and just magnificent. There in both Karnak and Luxor. Okay. And then here's the Valley of the Kings and Queens in Luxor. That's part of Nefertari's wonderful hieroglyphics that we see here. Here she's playing chess in that regard. And again, you descend down into it. It's you would never. They tried to hide these tombs, of these kings and queens. And then it just comes out of nowhere. As I said, you walk for like 2 miles, winding down. you're wondering, oh, come on, where is this place? Where? And then boom, you turn and there it is. It just takes your breath away. The beautiful treasury of the Nabateans, in Petra. And then Jerash, as I said, I've never seen a Roman, it's a whole city that they have kind of preserved. Obviously, it's not perfect, but it doesn't take much imagination then to think about, and you can see how it abuts then the modern day of Jerash.
Yeah. The U.S. Navy has a special certificate for those who pass the Suez Canal. And we may have to look into doing something like that for this group. But yeah, we have a little bit of time. Let's go ahead and touch on some of the current health and safety protocols that Gohagan has in place.
And the one caveat, just today dealing with things, these are all subject to change. And we really have seen some changes already coming in with the countries. However, these are just some of the things that you may encounter. And we provide this information. It's interesting. We do it, like 21 days prior, because things are changing almost every day, but we want to try to have the latest. This is for embarkation. Now, the countries have their own rules and regulations, but this is like for our embarkation. As I said, some countries instituting a rapid antigen test in the cruise terminal. Excuse me for 1 second. Prior to embarkation, we had that in Greece as an example, where prior, the getting on the ship, they did a final rapid antigen test, and I do know right now that Penn does require a PCR test a certain amount of time ahead, like 72 hours prior to boarding. Obviously, presenting proof of the vaccination booster. If Penn now is asking for a booster in that regard. And then a lot of countries also Penn does a little declaration of health. Very simple, very simple. Have you been around anybody that has had COVID or anybody that had symptoms? Very simple. And then it's interesting, temperature checks. That's what they do is, they embark, and the temperature is the key element for them to determine if someone might have some symptoms or potential symptoms. Then once on board, all the crew, staff, officers are vaccinated. There's a doctor and nurse that are right there as you embark. They're right there to help. And again, they have you fill out this health form. They're on these Penn ships. There's 3 fully equipped isolation units in case, where I said for a suspect is someone, they're taking your temperature as you go into the dining room. Via like a thermal thing up above you. If someone has a temperature of 100 degrees or higher, maybe twice, then that person then would be taken down into the isolation unit. That thermal screening here. Right. Masks are required inside the ship, except when you're in your cabin and when you're dining in the lounge. When you're out on the open deck, just social distancing is the main thing. Your mask can be off, in that regard.
And these things are being reviewed on a regular basis. So all of this could change, especially since we're a year out for most of these trips. All of these certainly could change. But this is the kind of stuff that Gohagan and your staff keeps abreast of and make sure that all of our travelers are aware of.
Yeah, and it's changing. It is really changing. And then, like this rapid antigen test, during, but we arrange that, for people. Let's say if we're going, we've had one famous one, on the Danube River where we had to arrange 5 different, we went through 7 countries and we had to arrange 5 different tests. But those days I can see as we move forward are kind of becoming less and less. And then return back to the United States, our government, there's some talk, maybe of discarding this maybe at the end of May. So we'll see. But right now, we need to have a negative COVID-19 test taken within 24 hours. And we usually do that test on board the ship on these cases, but let's say in Jordan on that one where we have, the 3 nights there in Amman, we would do that. We'd arrange for that at the end. If on a post tour, then we handle all that. So in other words, we want to this is one of the value of group travel right now is that all this, if you try to do your own, it's a phenomenal task to kind of keep all these COVID-19 testing and the timings in order. Once you're on the tour and you meet that travel director, because every program we have 3 to 4, we have 4 travel directors on the ships. They're there to help you with any questions, and then they are the ones that arrange for this COVID-19 test to come back into the United States.
That's just one of that's one of the things that we're experiencing now. Even with trips we've got going out weekly, I'm getting updates from the tour directors and tour operators, letting our guests know what is now required, what changes were made. So that it's great that, your staff can take care of all of that for them. So this is, I'm so excited to start traveling again. I want to thank you for joining me today. To talk about our 2023 departures. I'm ready to get out and start exploring. For more information on all of our trips that we discussed today, you can check out the quick links below in the console menu. And then we do still have some space left on a variety of our 2022 tours. For details and reservations on all of our tour offerings, 2022 and 2023, be sure to visit our website, which is alumni.psu.edu with a /travel. I want to thank everybody who was able to join today and this week. I hope you enjoyed learning about some of our destinations and hope you're consider joining the Nittany Navigators as we explore the world. I'll be back in August hosting a special travel spotlight with an upcoming host and faculty member, Eric Hanley, to talk about golfing in Northern Ireland. We hope you take the time to visit our webpage for all of our virtual and in-person opportunities. All of this week's programs have been pre-recorded, so if you were unable to join us for every night, you can go ahead and go to alumni.psu.edu, and under the events tab, we have an archived link so you can go back and view them all. A link to today's session is going to be sent out to all of our viewers shortly. And until we can meet, I hope that we all get to travel again soon, and you all have a great night. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Kelly. Go Nittany Lions. Thank you very much.